All in, Couples Threesomes 23, FFM Threesome Erotica. Copyright 2020 by Connie Cuckquean. Narrated by Allison Okeefe. All in, Couples Threesomes 23. The poker game between my husband and his associates had been going on now for hours. I'd stepped out of the room several times for a martini, and slowly the 6 players at the table had dwindled. Now all that was left was my husband, James, and his opponent, Olga Valenko, the sexiest, most dangerous woman in the entire world. The daughter of an oligarch gives a person a certain corrupt start to life. Olga had really dialed things up to 11 from there. I sipped a drink from the sidelines, watching as James carefully massaged his chips as he kept his focus on the raven-haired vixen. If the rumors about Olga were true, then it might not be just James she had eyes for. As if she could hear my thoughts, she took a glance at me as I stared at the pair of them, lingering a look on me just long enough to make me feel intrigued. "Your wife?" she asked as James glanced under the corners of his cards. He took a look back to me and winked. "My world." "How sweet," Olga said, forcing a fake smile. 50,000, James said, pushing his chips forward. "A sizable amount, pre-flop. You must have a good hand." James said nothing, staring across at Olga with the confidence that had allured me in the first place. "All in," Olga said. James barely flinched. "All in," James replied. There were short gasps around the dimly lit room. One man rolled his mustache between his fingers. "You don't even come close to matching me," Olga said, staring down at her sizable stack of chips. "So you get some back when you lose," said James. A chuckle came from the bar. "Your wife," Olga said simply. "You and your wife." "What about us?" "If you lose this hand, I get the pair of you to myself." James looked back at me, and I gave him a subtle nod. Some of the spectators laughed in disbelief. "Have it your way, Mrs. Valenko." "It's Miss Valenko." James nodded an apology and downed his whiskey. "Shall we?" Olga turned over her cards to reveal a club-suited ace and king. James did the same, revealing a pair of aces. The audience, rightfully, gasped. All I could do was smirk. The dealer turned 3 cards in succession, one of which was a king. Olga took a deep breath, and her brown eyes sparkled brighter than the diamond-studded necklace that dipped into her plunging cleavage. The dealer then turned over the 10 of clubs, giving Olga a chance at drawing a flush that would beat James's pair. "It's all come down to this," James said coolly. The dealer dropped the last card down, and the place erupted. A handsome red king stared up from the table, and Olga clapped her hands. "Well done," James announced, seemingly unfazed. I never fully understood his job. I gathered it to be some form of espionage, but I couldn't complain. It had taken me all around the world, dining in some of the fanciest restaurants and mingling with royalty and celebrities. Every so often, James would disappear for a day or 2, but he'd always come back to me. Sometimes he'd let me in on 1 or 2 things. What was transpiring now would only go on one way. James's. Whatever was to follow, it would all be part of his plan. I'd seen it 1,000 times before. If he was at a disadvantage, it was because he wanted to be. "I want the winnings deposited directly into my father's account," Olga said to the game's manager who stood close by. "So is that a loan from Daddy?" James asked. "A gift," Olga clarified. "That's some gift." "I expect you at my suite at 9, Olga said. "Wear something nice so I can enjoy it before I tear it off." Olga stood up from the table, and her bodyguard escorted her from the room. Her sparkling dress hugged tight to her shapely
Sample complete. Ready to continue?